Hi, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good, Shad. How are you, man?
I'm doing good as well. Thanks for coming back.
Love it. I'm glad to be back. Glad to be back.
So, what is going on over here today?
So I just kind of want to. I know this is a lot, but I just kind of want to walk through why I'm not buying cash deals in today's market, and pivoting into buying creatively, only creative, unless it's at 40 to 55 cents on the dollar.
Okay, so you are not going to buy any cash deals unless you are getting 50% discount, basically.
Correct.
All
Correct.
right, let's
Now,
get started.
sounds good. So, um, there's been people on my Instagram, Facebook. I don't have Twitter, but if I had Twitter, they would probably hit me up on Twitter and ask me why am I not looking at their deals. Most of the deals that's coming, that I'll get from like maybe a wholesaler or something like that, it'll be a cash deal. A typical deal will look like something like this. This is what I have been seeing. ARV 250,000. Purchase price. This is what's coming in my inbox almost every single day. Purchase price 220. Okay. To an investor that likes to pull cash out on every deal that they purchase, this is not a deal. 250 ARV, 220 purchase price. It's just not a deal. There's no spread in there.
Mhm.
There's absolutely no spread. But to buy and hold investors, someone who will go and qualify for a traditional mortgage, they'll probably be more interested in that than I will. This doesn't look good to me, so I don't even bother with this deal. In fact, let me see what percentage of this purchase price is to the ARV. Let me.
So, before you go to that calculation, even
Okay.
though it's in a good neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
school district are 9 out of 10, you wouldn't buy it.
I would not purchase this deal.
All right,
Let me show you
let's
why.
see.
This is why I'm here. So when you're buying in today's market, well, let me go back really quick. We're investors. Do we work jobs?
No.
No. Okay. Do you think we can qualify for a traditional mortgage with all of the properties that we own?
Yes and no.
Okay. So yes and no.
No.
For the ones that are the no's, okay, here is why it's probably not a good option for us to try to go qualify for a traditional mortgage. Well, us as investors, we're going to go to what they call DSCR lenders, debt service coverage ratio lenders, right? So I have a little calculator that I use every time I'm looking at numbers. Let's pretend like the rents in this area. I'm just these are just rough numbers, guys. So don't beat me up on this. Let's pretend like the rents are, let's go with maybe, what do you think something that's worth 250 would rent for? 14, 1500?
1500.
Okay, $1,500. So something that rents for 1500. Let's see in today's market, what would our monthly payment be on this deal? So let's go to my, I use what they call the TVM calculator. Well, actually, in the Apple product, it's called Easy Calculator, and all it is it's a financial calculator. I know a lot of people use the, what is that? The TI calculator. That
Or
works.
other mortgage calculator
There you
online.
go. There
Hmm.
you go. So I'm gonna put in here. Let's reset this. 30 years at, let's start it at 7% interest rate. How did I come up with the 7% interest rate? Because that's what most DSCR lenders are charging, between 7 and 9% when
Hmm.
we refinance a property. So we're purchasing it for, let's just say the bank comes and say, hey, this property appraises for 200 and between 220 and 250. Let's do 220. So 220,000. Our principal and interest payment is $1,463.66.
Hmm.
And this is just random figures that I put up inside of this deal. Now, because my principal and interest payment is 1463 and my rents are 1500, this is not a deal for me. I'm a buy and hold investor. I'm not a fix and flipper. Although I have two fix and flips that I've done. And one right now is still sitting on the market, which is why I'm not buying cash. That's another reason why. Now, to some people say, hey, well, you can still make maybe 90 to $100 in cash flow, but you can't. You got to consider taxes and insurance. You also have to consider all of your expenses, like what do you call it? Some people call it capex. We call it war chest. War chest. We put back at least 10%, maybe 20% of the total rents.
Mm-hmm.
So automatically, we're putting back at least. Let's put WC for war chest. We're putting back at least $150 per month. We can't do that if our monthly payment is $1463.66. We can't do that. It's just this deal does not work. So going back to why I'm not purchasing cash, this is one of the reasons. This is half of the reason why. Our interest rates today that investors are paying is between 7 and 9% interest. So if we purchase this property, we're going to lose money. We're not going to gain anything. We're barely even receiving equity. Now, let me erase this really quick. Let's do another scenario. Let's actually look at this property right here, North 1st Street. All right. So we're going to take a look at this property in a second. Before we do that, I just want to make sure that everyone understands that the reason, and I'll get straight to the point, the reason that I'm not buying cash right now in today's market is because when we refinance our property, we're refinancing into a 7 to 9% interest rate. That interest rate really, really matters. Let's go back to this example that we had when the purchase price was $220. Let's say that the interest rate is, what's your interest rate on your mortgage?
I got at 5.8.
Okay, 5.8. Let's try another one. Have you seen a property where the interest rate was about 2.8, maybe 3% interest?
My family member has an interest rate
Okay.
at 2.85.
Perfect. I would love to buy their property subject to.
For sure.
Just kidding. Okay, so let's type those numbers in. 360 payments or 30 years. What was the interest rate?
2.85.
Okay. 2.85% interest. And our loan is $220,000. Our monthly payment is $909 a month on a $220,000 house or $220,000 loan. At 2.85% interest, our principal and interest payment to the bank is $909.82. That's a major difference. Let's put 7% back in here. And 7% is if we get lucky. That's $1463 for principal and interest. So I hope you see the difference.
It's almost $563.
Exactly. So now, if we're renting it out for $1,500, we still have enough room to pay taxes and insurance, and that'll leave us with a little bit more in cash flow. Right? Now, this is why it's important for us to understand creative financing, learning how to take properties over subject to, versus buying this property cash and then turning around and refinancing it to, make it a long-term rental or even a mid-term rental. You're still probably not cash flowing a lot of money because your payment to the bank and taxes and insurance, it's significantly higher.
So you are dying on interest rate. You got killed by the higher property price.
Yes.
And you are not seeing any cash flows.
Correct.
And we are not living at the property.
Exactly.
So there is no way for us as an investor to buy cash unless the property we are getting at 50% discount.
That is correct. And I was just about to show you that. Dude, you play chess, don't you? So now let's plug this one back in just one more time. I actually like this example. ARV we said was $250,000. The rents we said were $1,500. And this is a pretty typical deal. Now, let's buy this thing let's buy it for half of what it's worth. $250,000 at 50%. And some investors will say, we're not finding 50% deals. You're not a good negotiator. You got to know how to negotiate.
So it is possible to do get some property in 50% discount
Yes.
rate, we call it 50 cents in a dollar, right?
Yes.
50
Correct.
cents on dollar. The reason people are not getting these deals, either they are not working hard
Mm-hmm.
or they have a lack of negotiation
That
skill.
is correct.
Okay.
100%. So, and if you guys need help with negotiating, we're really good at that stuff. We take sales classes. We've went through all of the training and everything that you could think
And
of.
you train your
Yes.
employees, the people who works for you in creative financing, and also how to close. So basically you speech sales,
Yes.
real estate sales.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, going back to the word unless,
Mm-hmm.
you said you wouldn't purchase this property unless we're buying it at 50 to 55 cents on the dollar. Yes. Here is why. So we're purchasing this thing at 125K. That's 50% of the 250. Now, let's plug this number in right here. Let's plug this number in really, really quick. 125,000 as our loan amount when we refinance the property, right? So going back to our calculator, let's plug it in. 125,000 at 7% interest. Our monthly payment for our principal and interest is $831.62. So let's put that right here. Our monthly payment is $831.62. Or you can call it 63 because there's an 8 right here. If people want to get technical, I understand.
Or they can just put $832 or
Yeah,
maybe
there we go.
$800,
Yeah.
right?
So now that we have our principal and interest payment, and keep that in mind, guys, this is not your total payment. This is just principal and interest.
Interest only. PI.
Oh, crap. EST. Boom. That's just principal and interest. So
No.
now we have to include,
Taxes, homeowner insurance.
there we go. And we call this TI, motivation. TI, taxes and insurance. And taxes and insurance, you can get that from, if you guys want to look up maybe an estimate of your taxes, you can go on Zillow, see what they were paying last year and
Previously.
add. Yeah.
The best way to actually do it in Texas is usually 2.6%. So if we take 250,000 times 2.6%,
250,000. Let's do that in the calculator.
mm-hmm,
So 250,000 times
2.6, 6,500 per month.
okay, per month,
Oh, per year.
per year.
So 6,500 divided by 12.
That's 541.66.
541.
41.
So put 542.
Perfect.
Now insurance usually in between 120 to 200. We
Yeah.
can take a middle number is 150.
About 150.
Okay. So if we add these two number with 832,
691.
691, then add with this.
There we go. So we got 691 plus 831. That gives us 1522. Perfect. So for this example, I'm glad we actually came up with these numbers. Typically on your mortgage statement, you can find your taxes and insurance payment or your escrow payment. But for this example, because we are 22 bucks over the rent rates, here's a positive. We're making 22 bucks in cash flow.
Do you want
I'm
that?
kidding. But a few things that we can do here. I can maybe pull out a little bit less on the cash out refinance
Mm-hmm.
because we know our monthly payment is going to be $1,522. Or I can seller finance this deal and ask for a down payment and charge my buyers a little bit more than the average rents,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense.
if we are wrapping it.
If we are wrapping it, correct.
So if you wrap it, then you can charge $1,900 to $2,000. At least you are saying $300 to $500
in
cash flow.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
That's really important of knowing why I'm buying at 50 to 55 cents on the dollar, sometimes 45 cents. Sometimes we'll give sellers some money up front and we'll give them a little bit on the back end. It just depends on what we negotiate so that we can buy it at 45 cents, pull that money out, give them a little bit, and we can cash flow on our properties as a long-term rental. So my whole point of buying at 50 to 40 to 50 cents on the dollar is so that we can cash flow. Now, to some people, this deal may look like, oh, that's not a deal. But I recognize deals like this all the time, which is why I barely even buy things cash. I might as well just take over this property subject to. It's no purpose of me going through buying it cash, then refinancing it, then looking for a tenant. It's too much just to only cash flow a few bucks a month, right?
Mm-hmm. Understood. So basically, if there is no cash flow, there is no point to buy it.
Yes.
But if there is an opportunity to make a wrap and getting cash flow, definitely go for
I'm going
that
for it.
route. And in future, if you wanted to sell one of the property from your portfolio, you can also sell the cash flow.
Yes.
And you're making money.
Yes. I love it. I love
So the goal is, if you want to buy cash, then it has to be 50% discounted rate,
it.
50 cents in dollar. If not, then you have to buy properties in seller financing subject to.
Yes. So, do you want to go over a quick example of like a live deal right now, or do you have time? A live deal?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, because I was typing in, or sorry, I was writing in the address, but I want to actually let's
Let's go to the computer to show you a live deal that how is it going to work or not.
There we go. All righty, guys. Let's take a look at a live deal, and we are live right now. So, on First Street. Oh, okay. Sorry. 204 North First Street. And it's in Crandall, Texas. Perfect. This is a live deal, guys. I haven't even looked at this one yet, but I do want to show you guys a really quick example of why I don't buy cash deals and how to kind of basically to underwrite to make sure that we can do, multiple exit strategies. Why it matters to buy at 50, 40 to 50 cents on the dollar and ultimately just help investors understand why buying cash right now is like probably not the best unless you're buying it at a really, really deep discount. So we're looking at this property here in Crandall, Texas. It's let's just kind of see what it's worth. This estimate says it's worth about 220,000. Let's look at a few other places just to kind of get what it's worth, have an idea. It doesn't have to be exact. So I kind of use a couple different sources just to see if they're all matching, see if they're all the same. What does this one say? It's worth their estimate is about 227. So we got 220, 227. Okay, perfect. And then you can also just look up on realtor.com as well. That's another source. This is just like a quick and dirty way to kind of figure out how much a property is worth. So 204 North 21st, or I'm sorry, North 1st Street. And that is in Randall, Texas. Let's see how much Realtor.com says it's worth. Shows it's for sale. And we're going to close out of that. and they are saying it's worth about 230. Okay, so we're in between 220 and 230. Perfect. Alrighty, so I'm an investor. I'm going to go with either the lower number or in the middle, 220, 225, somewhere around there. All right, so I have a spreadsheet that I use to kind of give me a really quick guidance. It's a really, really amazing spreadsheet. It's very straight to the point. But here is what I would like to do. I also want to look and see what are the rent rates for this particular property because I want to make sure that I can cash flow at least 300, 350, $400 a month, or at least make a 15% cash on cash return on my money. Now, let's look and see what the Zillow rent estimate is for this property. Zillow says about 2,100 a month. Perfect. Now let's look at Redfin's. Redfin says that we can rent this out for, give me 1 second. Let's take a look at this. Oh, they making me fight for this rental. Um, there we go. The rental estimate is about 1990. And again, remember, the Zestimate was 2100. So about 2000, or sorry, 2100. You guys can kind of compare and contrast, figure out which one. But if you're like, hey, I'm kind of, I'm a little weary about it. Let's look up one more spot to check out the rental. So I use rentcast.io. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. Really, really good software that you can use. So let's just take a look. North First Street, Crandall, Texas. Uh-oh. It must be, oh, sorry. Crandall, Texas. And this is a single family. How many beds? 4 bed, 2 bath. So you're just going to type in or put in all of the facts about the property. 1,664 square feet. Again, guys, I've never looked at this property yet. And it says about 1,800. So Zestimate says 22 or 21. This one says 19 and this one says 18. So 18, 19, and 21. We can split the difference and say about 1950, $2,000, somewhere around there. Okay, so I'm going to put that inside of my spreadsheet really, really quick. Let's put 2,000 for the rent rates. Now, here's the best part. We know that the property is worth around 220,000. If we're going to buy this cash, let's look and see what a cash price would look like for me. It's worth 220,000. That's an ARV, 220. I'm going to multiply that by 50 cents. That's $110,000. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out how much is a monthly payment on a $110,000 loan because that's what I want to pull out whenever I go and refinance my property. If I could get more, that's a bonus, but I don't want to pull out too much because then my monthly payment will go up a lot. So some people use the mortgage calculator on Bankrate. I use TVM calculator, but you can use both. They're basically the same. TVM calculator, financial calculator. Now, our loan is 110,000 for 30 years. Remember, when investors are refinancing their property today in 2023, more than likely we're going to use a DSCR lender. So they're going to charge us around 7% for the interest rate. That makes our principal and interest payment $731 per month. Now, so let me go to my calculator. Oh, I'm sorry, my spreadsheet, and let's put the $731 a month for the principal and interest payment. You guys can ignore this. I know it says PITI, but it's just principal and interest. Um, and now we're going to look up the taxes. Just get a quick estimate. And this is how I kind of determine if I should move forward on this deal or not. But let's go down here to the taxes. We're almost there. Boom, found it. So last year they were paying $3,163. What would you round this up to? Maybe 3,300,
$3,400.
$3,400. Okay, perfect. So for taxes, we're at $3,400 per year divided by 12. We're at $283 per month for our taxes. And I'll plug this. And I know you guys have different spreadsheets that you use. But I'm just using the one that we made. My partner made this. Shout out to him, Ben. All right. And so I'm going to let Shad kind of explain how he comes up with the insurance per month. He did a really good job explaining it on the board, and just to kind of reiterate how to estimate the insurance payment. I'm going to let Shad just kind of run through that really, really quick.
So, if you're in Texas, because this property in Texas, California, Florida, even getting an insurance is challenging. But insurance can cost you up to $120 to $300. Depends on your peril and the wind damage to it. So, if your peril is higher, that's mean deductible, then you will get lower payment premium per month. But usually we try to get the premium like $3,000 or $4,000 deductible. You can get 150 $150 per month premium for your homeowner insurance. So we will take 150 for this property.
Perfect. $150 per month for insurance. 150. Perfect. So as of right now, let me put that. Sorry. Let's put that in our insurance payment. Boom, there we go. Make that a zero. So far, our expenses on this property is $1,164.33. That is our PITI. Principal and interest payment is $731. Taxes and insurance is the 150 plus the 283, which equals to $1,164. That means we are making $835.67 in gross cash flow right now. The reason why it's gross is because we did not subtract property management and we didn't subtract war chest. Some people, some investors, they don't like putting funds back for war chest. Some investors do. Some investors don't hire property management. Some investors do. This property is in Texas. I will self-manage this property, so I won't hire a property manager. I'm only going to put back 10% because of this neighborhood. I learned from Shad, depending on the school district, will tell you a lot about that neighborhood. So because this is a 7 out of 10 rating on their school district, this is a pretty decent neighborhood. This is probably what, a B class maybe? Probably a
It
C
can B
plus.
class or goes to A class, because what happens, even the neighborhood is not that great. Next neighborhood it can be A class and this can be B class, and they're sending their kids to this school.
I love it. So because this is in a great neighborhood, I'm going to put back about 10% for my war chest every single month. 10% of what? 10% of my rental income. So if we can rent this out for $2,000 a month, I'm going to put back at least $200 a month. Now my net cash flow looks like $635.67. So if I were to buy this property cash, I would buy this at $110,000 instead of the instead of buying it at
Subject to.
yeah. So one thing about buying properties cash, guys, you got to make sure that you know how to underwrite your deals. You have to make sure that you know how to calculate taxes, how to calculate insurance, how to calculate your new monthly payment for your principal and interest. That really, really matters. You don't want to borrow money from someone. For example, if I'm borrowing money from Shad, I need to borrow 40 grand to put as a down payment on a hard money loan so that I can purchase this property and rehab it and refinance it out, give you your money back. If I don't know how to underwrite my deal, if I don't know how to come up with the taxes and insurance, if I don't know how to come up with the principal and interest payment, I'm not going to be able to pay Shad his money back. And that just burned my relationship with Shad. And I don't want to do that. Very clean, handsome guy. So I'm kidding. No, I'm just messing with you, man. Just throwing the little jokes in there. But you want to make sure that you know how to underwrite these deals whenever we're buying cash. But for me, I have to buy at 50 cents on the dollar. I'm borrowing someone else's money. I want to make sure that I'm paying them. If we decide to partner on this deal and he wants a split of the cash flow, hey, we got $635 in cash flow that we can split. You get 300, I get 300. Or maybe he wants a little bit more because it was his money, so he get 400 and I get 200. Or he get 500 and I get 100. It really doesn't matter how we structure the deal, but the only way that we can come down to structuring this deal is if I underwrite my deal and I purchase this property at the right price. Now, if you guys are sending out deals, if this deal was sent to me and what was the ARV 220? If the deal was sent to me and I know some guys are still buying at 75 cents on the dollar. I know they are. It's cool. I have no problem with that. I just won't buy it at 75 cents on the dollar. Here's why. If we purchase this property, let's just pretend like 165 is our all-in price. That's our all-in number. That's rehab included. We're at 165. So let's pull out a loan for $165,000. Let's do that really quick. Let's see what $165,000 look like. 165 at 7. We're going to leave the interest rate the same at 7% because the DSCR lenders are charging us 7%, sometimes 7.5, sometimes 8, maybe 9. Now let's see how big of a difference it is when we pull out $165,000. Our principal and interest payment is now $1,097.75. So let's plug that inside of our spreadsheet. 1097. Let's go to 1097. What was the cents? 0.75. Now we're only looking at about $268 a month in net cash flow, and our expenses are $1,731 per month. That's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, plus our war chest. So let's pretend like we had property management come in here and say, hey, we'll manage this property, but we want 10%. We're at $68 a month. Whenever I'm underwriting my deals, especially as long-term rentals, I always assume worst case scenario. I always assume that I'm going to put between 10 to 20% back for my war chest. And I also assume that I'm going to put 10% back for my property management. Some people do, some people don't. And sometimes I have a private money lender that I have to pay every single month unless I'm pulling all of his cash out. And even if I'm pulling his cash out, he's going to want a return on his money. He's going to say, hey, I want to see at least 15% return on my money. So now I even have to pay this guy a return on his money, depending on how you guys structure the deal. But is this deal worth pursuing? I do all of this hard work for $68 a month? Probably not. I probably wouldn't take this deal. I would actually pass on this deal if they don't accept 50 cents on the dollar. So I hope this presentation makes sense and we can go back to the board and we can go ahead and wrap the things up, guys. So as I mentioned on the Excel spreadsheet, based on those facts, there's a few things that I want you guys to remember. Here's a quick recap. You want to know what's the ARV of the property. I'm going to add this in here because I didn't mention it earlier. You also want to have an idea of the appraisal amount. The appraisal amount, a quick and dirty way to figure out the appraisal amount is just to see what are the as-is comps selling for. You can have an ARV of 500, but the as-is properties are probably selling for 430. Mm-hmm. That's what the banks care about. They don't care about the properties that's fixed up for, that have granite countertops and all of this stuff. They want to know what are the as-is comps selling for. So you always want to assume the worst. Keep this number in mind, and that's when you would take this number, and you would multiply it by 50 cents on the dollar, and that'll give you your offer price to the sellers. And that'll also give you the loan amount that you're going to pull out whenever you are doing a cash out refinance. So just keep this number in mind, guys. Keep the appraisal in mind. ARV, appraisal. You also want to know what your rents are going for. You also want to know, once you do the refinance, how much you're going to pull out, either 70 or 75%. Those two numbers really matter.
75% of the ERV.
Of the appraisal amount.
Of the appraisal amount, okay.
Yes. Because if you do the ARV, the banks may not take this ARV number. They may say, hey, we see comps are selling for 500,000 fixed up, but your property is just rent ready. So we're gonna use the appraisal amount. So we're gonna use 430, Shad.
Appraisal value.
The appraisal value. So they're gonna refile your property at the appraisal value. Keep that in mind. Don't ask me why. Banks just love doing that. They love hurting investors.
Okay.
Don't ask me why.
Ask the bank.
Ask the bank. So we got our ARV, our appraisal, our rents, our refi. Now we need to know, what is our mortgage payment per month? And how we figure that out is, once we do our appraisal, we take our appraisal amount, multiply by 70, 75%. That gives us our number. Now, we need to know what will be our principal,
interest rate,
interest,
taxes, insurance.
And insurance. So these are all of the facts that you guys have to know if you are buying a cash deal right now. You have to know all of these things. Also, your property management. We're going to call them property man. Property management and what we call your war chest. So there's 10 valuable things right here that you all must know if you're going to buy a deal cash. I would rather just take it sub 2, seller finance. Keep everything so simple.
Less headache.
Yes.
Everything, insurance is already in place.
Yes.
Taxes is already in place. So easier way to do it rather than taking risks. Because sometimes if you buy cash properties, it can add in your portfolio as non-earning asset.
Yeah.
It's no cash flow. Can sit just sitting there. And we don't know, even the property will sell at a higher rate. And we don't know really, no one can actually time the market.
That is correct.
And it can be very painful in your portfolio to have that property.
Yeah. So Shad, if I were your brother, and I am your brother,
thank you,
I would suggest that you're buying these cash deals between 40 to 50% on the dollar.
That means if you get a property at 300,000, you definitely want to, if you want to buy it cash, get that property at $150,000 or $140,000, not more than that. And also, we still don't like to get that property in 50% discount. Our first option will be seller financing sub 2 or hybrid.
Yes.
On that note, thank you for sharing this information.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.